Hi, in this episode I'll be talking to my friend Stu Lawson, a guy that got reintroduced to scuba diving after a lucky escape from a very tragic accident on a military firing range. Over a brew, Stu talks candidly about his career in the army, the accident that changed his life, and how diving has given him purpose and a release from the struggle of getting used to a civilian life as an injured soldier. Do you fancy a brew? Stu and I were introduced through a mutual friend and a future guest on the show called Mick Stewart. They met through the charity called Diving with the Wounded and BSAC's Diving for All programme. This was a great interview to do and one I wanted to play out in full, so no apologies for it being so long. Grab yourself a brew, sit back and enjoy.
Just fell up the stairs, mate. Nearly broke my leg.
Any better?
So if you want to just sort of introduce yourself, who you are, where you've been, what you've done, and what you're up to, you know, and then we'll just crack on, see where it goes. Is that right?
So that's great. Yeah, my name's Stu. Stu Lawson.
Yeah.
I've literally got into diving probably the last 2 years, mainly because of an injury I had a couple of years ago, and it was due to like my surgeon. Basically, I woke up from a coma, and we got chatting exactly like we're doing now, really. And it found out that I was interested in diving a bit younger because my dad used to dive and that kind of stuff. And then he was stood at the end of my bed and he goes, "Well, if you get yourself fitter," and bear in mind I was in a bad state, like, "I will promise to take you to the Maldives diving." So I was like, "Okay, that sounds like, you know, something. Yeah, I can do that." Yeah. And then I had like massive support from my partner as well, and my missus Samantha. And pretty much from that moment, I got moved to Headley Court, because where I was in the military and that. And then I trained and got, the main thing for me, my lungs got burnt out. So I trained on that. And then he kept his word. And like a year later, so the accident was in June 2017. And then a year later, I was in the Maldives diving. And I met obviously different people. So the charity that took us was through Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Birmingham, but known as Diving with the Injured. And they get a lot of the injured military guys. And it sort of like give you something to aim for and something to get for. And then for me, that was like a massive motivation, especially with mental health awareness and stuff. And you had likely guys that you could sit around with and have a couple of beers in the evening and just talk about experiences. But my sort of background behind all that was I joined the army at 18 years old, and then did a full career, got to warrant officer, and pretty much got injured right at the end of my career, which is quite, I think, around about my 18-year point. So it didn't end how it was. So you can imagine sort of like mental health ways and that kind of stuff. It wasn't great. So when you get all that taken away from you, what you think you're going to do, and then suddenly you don't have that, it is quite sad. But I massively believe if you have a goal, like for me, it's my diving. I really got into my diving, and I had a really supportive partner as well. And I think that's something to talk through. And even having chats with brews like this with mates and that, and the people you meet through diving, it's great. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I went to the Maldives, and then luckily in 2020, January just gone, I went to Djibouti with him as well. But now I've done my final trip to Djibouti in Africa, right, just off Somalia. Yeah, so we went to Djibouti on a liveaboard. Whale sharks, you know what I mean? I was swimming with whale sharks in January. It's like just before the coronavirus and that as well. Yeah. And I was with a guy called Mick Stewart and his wife Louise Stewart, and we were diving there, and it was absolutely great. You know, you've got like-minded guys, and then I've done my AFC as well. So I'm hoping to get my dive lead, and that's just in the space of 2 years. And BSAC's just been like amazing for me. You know, it's my goal. It's my sort of like aim.
It's crazy, isn't it, how something like that can sort of pull everyone together and make life sort of worth living in that respect, isn't it? And like for me, I didn't really have a hobby because I'd injured my knee a few years ago, and I've been trying to find something. I mean, it's a flipping expensive sport, diving.
Yeah, agreed.
But in the amount of money I've spent in doing it, my friends or the people I know have grown expeditiously as well. So I've got a bigger support network or a bigger friend network that I wouldn't have expected to have. And it's more inclusive, like you said, with the Diving for All programme with the BSAC. It's more inclusive now, so everyone can do it, really. There's no real reason why they can't, other than an absolute health issue.
So I think it gives you that open as well. So if you're, because I live away from my club, there's other clubs you can go and dive with as well. So it gives you that bigger base friends just to go and dive with, and then you meet more people. It's great, especially BSAC, because if you, not to say anything against other sort of like, you know, ways of diving, but for me, these are, if you go online and you select another club, you can literally turn up with them and go diving with them. And as long as you get to meet more people and have more beers. Yeah, my friends have literally grown now. I think I belong to like 3 different WhatsApp groups on diving because of, that's what it is. So.
I keep forgetting every time I add or get a new friend on Facebook to put them. You can say how you know your friend. Is it like a relative or a close acquaintance or best friends? I have a dive group, so I forget to put everyone in that because then you can kind of Charlie 1. Everyone can and just go.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's in the southwest now? I'm going diving. Who wants to come?
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah, I mean, at the moment I'm down South Wales.
Yeah.
So when it'd be great to let's all get together and let's just definitely.
So you started your career at 18 in the army. Had you always sort of aspired to be in and join up?
No, not at all. So I originally, as a youngster, my father was in the military. He was in Remy for. He did a full career as well. So I was sort of like dead against it because we got posted to Hong Kong, Germany.
Were you like a pad brat, getting moved around the world all the time?
I moved around a lot. Yeah, and I was a bit like, oh no, I don't want to do that. No way. So I think I was going to join the Navy or something because I wasn't the best at school, that kind of stuff. And then my mind changed round about. So I went to college at 17, and I didn't do much in college at all. I think it was like sport and rec, a sitting guilds kind of thing or something like that. Great at the time, And I had a good time as a youngster, and then realised, and I think my dad being military as well, and a sergeant major is very much like you need to sort your life out. It was kind of like dragged me to the careers office, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give this a go. And honestly, my first sort of when I joined the army, I was like, I do 3 years, and then 23 years later. Here you are, so it's not hard as long as you do and you pass your courses and you keep relatively fit.
How did you find that initial meet, when you go into the recruiting office? And let me ask you another question before you answer that. Did you end up joining one of the units that one of your recruiters was in, like I did?
Yeah, so mine was local because of where it was like the local sort of guy, and that was it, yeah. You get persuaded in it as well, don't you? I think it's what you know and who's there, so they're very much like they talk you around. It's back that's way. I mean, this was 1997, so yeah, a long time ago.
So how old are you now? Are you 40, 41?
40 now, yeah, just turned 40, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
When 41.
When was your birthday?
My birthday's in July, so I'm not 41 yet.
All right. Well, my 40th was the end of March. So I said to her, we'll put it off till next year because I couldn't have a party. So I'm still 39.
I was last year, so luckily it was. Yeah.
So yeah, I was the same. I went to the recruiting office on my own. No support with me, and I didn't have the support of me then wife. And I was adamant I was going to join Medic Corps, and there was a guy in the Royal Engineers, and he was a skier, and he was telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, mate, that sounds ace. That
awesome.
Did my barb test, and he was like, oh mate, I definitely didn't get the highest score. He's like, you've got the highest we've ever had. You should join the Royal Engineers. Yeah, okay, mate. Sign me up.
So I joined the RLC down in 17 Port Maritime, which is like the local unit and that, to work on boats and stuff like that. Right. You've got there's a military port down in Marchwood. Yeah. And did all the boat training and stuff like that, and like the small landing crafts at the time. I believe it's changed now. I mean, obviously since then I've left a long time ago, but yeah, it was great. You went away. I think Norway was one of the trips with boats. And
so are you in support of Royal Marines there then?
Yeah, no. So the Port of Royal Marines is down in Plymouth. Yeah. But we worked closely, so the Marines would come as well. So they would do their landing crafts similar to us. Ours is more like logistically side, all right. Where theirs is like obviously there's landing the beach and D-Day and all that kind of stuff. As it's fun. But ours is more like we'd wait, let them clear the beach, and then 3 hours, 4 hours later, we'd come with all the vehicles and the ammo and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's like the heavier sort of boats and that, and that was it. But it's small landing crafts. Okay. It's such a quite unique thing. No one really knows about it in the army because it's like, wow, is that not the Marines? Like, no, it's the army. There's actually the logistics side of it. So it's like nothing to do with the Marines whatsoever. It's the military support in Marches. So anybody going anywhere, so deploying to Afghan, Bosnia at the time, all the vehicles and stuff would come through the port. Right. And then like the port operators, which is part of the job as well, they would load the bigger boats, like the massive ships and stuff. Yeah. And then these would then sail down to the Falklands or wherever they're going. Yeah. And then my job was the, like the mariner, I think they call it now, is they do the smaller boats. So any support of that. So Mexicraft, which is like a flat pontoon vessel, they put like lorries on. But if these boats couldn't get into a dock or into a port harbour, then you use a mexi craft, which would come either to the side of the boat and they crane stuff on, or the rear, so the ramp door at the rear, and they drive their vehicles on. Very similar to Marines, but a lot bigger and a lot heavier, and it's a logistics. So it's mainly ammo and water. They did put a lot of relief and stuff in. Is it Haiti? I think. Remember when Haiti went on a couple of years ago? March of 17. The guys were doing all the water and things, and
I think was it wasn't an earthquake, was it? It was like a
hurricane or something, wasn't
hurricane,
it?
Yeah, or
Typhoon
or something,
yeah. So obviously they were out there. One of the I think it's an RFA ship, so Royal Fleet Auxiliary ship, was out with a detachment of Marines and Army as well, and then obviously you go in and give support.
So how did you find your career in there, and then ended up on tour in like Iraq and that?
So it just really different, really. So I was doing that for a few years, and then I sort of went more, I don't know what you say, green side of things. So I wanted to do a bit more sort of infantry sort of way. Yeah. So I started working in the training wing and that kind of stuff. And then I went and done like my MPC and all that kind of stuff, and found out actually I wasn't too bad in the field. And I think one of them, I nearly come top student on a couple of courses and things. And it's like, it's the courses that I wasn't so great at the mathematical side and the education side. I was great at do as you're told, get it done, and the leadership side. Okay, friends. So I started shining. So it took me a long time to get my Lance Corporal in Marchwood. So when I finally got, I think, my Lance Corporal and Sergeant, but I liked the greener stuff, so I went to the training wing side. And there was, so I'd done 2 tours. So one of my first tour in Iraq was with, it was to do CP work for the movers who are out in Shiva Log Base in Basra. So I was there, and I used to drive Discoveries around with ECN and all that kind of stuff, driving around. And then later on, 2009, as a section commander, they wanted CP work out in Basra, in Afghanistan, up in Kabul, in the capital. So we used to do VIP moves and that with like these Foyer armoured vehicles, and we'd drive around Kabul capital centre taking VIPs. And one day we were working for the president of Afghanistan at the time, and there's loads of stuff like along with the RMP guys, because obviously the embassy in Kabul also had RMP guys there, so we attached with them a little bit, doing a bit of CP work. So that was quite interesting. And then when I came back, obviously I hadn't done anything through the boat side of stuff for a long time, so I then got asked to go to an ATR in Winchester. So I started as a screw. I was HR Winchester, and I taught, at the time it was juniors. So you get these 16, 17-year-olds in, and now it was different now. So when I first joined, it was like you're on the other side of it, and obviously you do courses to get there, and that was quite interesting as well. And I made some really good friends there as well.
I thought you were going to say, when I first got there, we were allowed to punch them, and now we're not. Now we're not.
Hey, it's completely changed now, I believe. But so you do all that stuff. It was great, but I don't say I used to beast them a little bit, but nothing too much, as you do. It's recruit training, get them in lines. But these 16-year-olds, they line up, and they're all, the mum and dads are there, and they're kissing them goodbye, and they're giving them cakes and stuff. So it's a little bit different to adult intake, where you've got to be a little bit nicer to start off with, and then you can, But we used to, there was ways and means, because obviously I don't remember. Do you ever hear these things about red cards and yellow cards and all that? So there's, obviously, if you talk about our day of training, there was none of that. It was literally do as you're told. That was it. So there was very much like in the training team, you're always quite wary of what to do, just in case, because lots of people, they do overstep the mark. But so we were obviously teaching these recruits or instructing these recruits, and there's ways and means. So apparently you're only allowed to give them 20 press-ups a day, or they're allowed to run 20 meters a day for a bit of punishment. So what you do instead is we used to just make stuff up and go, let's see how strong you are. Let's do another 20. That post box over there. If you run up there and tell me what's on that, so there's ways and means around it. It's just being clever about how you go about it. But I really enjoyed the time at ATI. It's completely different as instructor, and it was great. And I actually got promoted through that as well. So I got my sergeant when I was there as well.
Cheers, wife brought me a brew, legend. I now have a brew.
I always feel really lucky. We did juniors, so they were there for 6 months rather than the traditional 11 weeks, next in, next out sort of thing. So you'd have a lot of them as well, which probably a lot of people don't know, is when they went for junior training, they did a lot of education as well. So they did level 1 and level 2, and they had to leave, or most of them had to leave with level 1 and level 2 English and maths as a new thing soldiers get. You can see, which is really good. So you do get a lot of downtime because of that fact. Whereas if you're like Purbright or Basenborn and you're doing 11, 12 weeks, yeah, because they do the 11, 12 weeks. I think they have like a weekend during the whole. That's the only time they get off, and then they have 2 weeks and they start again. So it's like with us, we were quite lucky. It was spread over a bit longer, and they had like half term and things like that. So very much like Harrogate these days.
Yeah, that's good that they're doing that sort of fundamental maths and English, because I think you tend to find people who pick that up later on in their careers when they're actually thinking about their education. Where can I go to be promoted?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't got this and that and the other, so you're going nowhere. So you're starting it at like mid to late 20s, perhaps?
Yeah. Well, I remember doing my level 2 maths in Brecon because I think we were getting promoted to staff sergeant or something like that. So you had to have, you know what I mean? There were certain levels you had to get to. Yeah. So I was like, well, I don't know if I got this. Let me just do this course. And the guy was teaching me fractions, and I was like, are you kidding me? I have no idea. So it was very much self-taught, but we got on maths and we did it. But yeah, with the recruits thing, it was great because, I mean, some of them came from all different backgrounds, and you had guys some of them, one of my favourite recruits, I remember, he couldn't even write his name properly. So, but that when he first got there, because you get him to write their name on the doors and stuff, and couldn't do it, help him. So it was a different level of training. You're teaching a guy to how to hold a rifle and how to shoot a rifle, but you also help in other ways that he hasn't been helped before. So that's what I really liked about that. And then by the time he came to leave 6 months later, he was at a level, I think they only got to level 1, but that's great. It's like a D sort of GCSE sort of time. Yeah. And he's gone on to do really well, I believe. I believe he's been promoted and on his way now. So that's great. If
he'd stayed in Civvy Street, he'd just been another dickhead on the road, wouldn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. But this is what you got to understand. And I'm a massive believer in, if you join the military, if you want something out of it, you'll get something out of it, whether that's education, whether that's, and obviously everyone uses these words, millennials and entitled and all that, but, go and, if you've got nothing better to do and you want something to achieve, go and do 2-3 years and just see how you get on.
You kind of see that, don't you? Those who actually put a bit of effort in, you don't have to be the most switched on, just actually try.
Yeah,
and
honestly,
you can progress.
Yeah. I think my mate, he done 16 years and got out, and he was saying to me, he went for a job interview, and they said to him, the job interviews at this time, but that's it. But he didn't know the address or anything, but he didn't ask. He just Googled it as you would do as a soldier, and he turned up 5 minutes before. And when he went for his interview, they were like, oh, we weren't expecting you to turn up because you never asked us where it was. You never, you just did what you were told. He's like, well, that's what I'm used to. That's what the military do. And I think he got hired because of that. So it's like, and that's the kind of attitude I think you get installed during the military, don't you? Your military career.
Yeah. That's what happens. Absolutely. So just flick back slightly to your work when you've been on operational tour, so Iraq and Afghanistan. People talk about CP work and close protection like it's, it's all cool and it's, you're cutting around sometimes in civvies or North Face gear and you've got your pistol and maybe an MP5. Yeah. And you don't forget your Oakleys. You wrap around. So that sounds kind of cool if you look at some of the other operational tours that we've been on.
Yeah.
Was that then perhaps a plan for when you got out? Were you thinking maybe do some work on the circuit or something?
No, so this wasn't pretty much, we were in British military uniform. We were saving. It was none of that. It was literally, we were driving Toyotas, all armoured up. But that was, and I had a team of 4 guys. So I was commander, I had my 2IC. And all we were doing was we were just transporting people around a city that is potential full of IEDs and terrorists, which is, But it was nothing like, we were allowed to grow beards, black eyes. And I think we had S80 carbines as well, so it wasn't and that. We had 6 of us, but I think that was it wasn't nothing special. We'd go to the range once a month, very much similar to before we lived in a small fob in Kabul. There wasn't much there. So at the end of the tour, we did get IED during, I think it was by the American embassy. So obviously Kabul, what Kabul's like, but it was nothing compared to what Helmand and stuff, the guys down there. So we felt very lucky. And it's a completely different job, but very lucky compared to what some of the lads are doing down in Helmand.
Right. So what I was trying to segue, I've picked up this new phrase, segue now, trying to segue it in, was obviously that if that was your plan, clearly that's not going to be the plan now, is it? Because of what's gone on most recently.
No, so I think you always have, that was sort of my 11, 12 year point, so I still had a full career left in me. And
was that always your plan to do the full 22, was it?
Yeah, I think so. At that stage, yeah, I knew I was going to ATR that stage. You always keep in your mind, you might get out, you might, if the
Yeah.
opportunity arises, this kind of thing. But yeah, my plan, I think once you pass your 12-year point, you're sort of like, that's you hooked, isn't it? It's what happens because everyone goes, why get out? I have a few friends who left at 16-year point, and I think personally, I would have carried on because the pension is a bit of a good pension, but that's when they get you. So if you want to leave, if the opportunity does rise, then yeah, by all means go. I never really had I had experience with doing CP, but I was never any like level like you guys do. I think a lot of guys I've met since leaving or during my time of leaving is a lot of guys do CP work now. I think one of the ideas that did cross my mind at one point was the maritime security, was where I was working on the boats and stuff. I could also I've done a bit of CP work.
What for, like the pirating and that around?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Northeast Africa.
But it's all changed now, doesn't it? I had a few mates out in Iraq when it first started, in Afghanistan. Now it's completely different. So I probably wouldn't even think about it now, but obviously I can't anyway. But yeah, and then pretty much from there, I that's when I went back into like the training side, and that's when I transferred into the small and forecourt and did the weapon side of stuff, and then pretty much that was it, really.
So you ended up then at Castle Martin, didn't you? And ended up on the big boys toys, the tanks.
Yeah, great experience. Yeah, So basically, I did like a harder thing to transfer into the small arms forecourt, and you go away to become an instructor. It's like you instruct weapons. So for 2 years, you do all the small arm weapons in the skillet arms instructors and all the juniors and seniors and blah blah. And then we did that in Brecon. So Brecon was great. I was in Brecon for I think 2 to 3 years, and then I got posted to Warminster. Did a stint in Warminster down there for a bit on the anti-tank stuff. So it was all moving up a level. And then they said to me, I was a staff sergeant in 2015, and they said, if you promote to warrant officer, would you like to go down to Castle Martin? My first words, what do they do down there? And it's mainly armoured. So I was like, well, I'm not qualified. So I went and did a course. So I, to get all your live firing stuff for your A12, I went and done my AFV A12 to learn how tanks fire and live firing so I can plan their ranges. And then when I got down there, it was actually, Castle Martin is amazing because you've got so many different ranges, anything from like, you could pretty much fire a pistol through to an anti-tank weapon through to 120 on a Challenger and helicopters as well. It's like, I think one point we even had ships. They weren't firing, but like these naval ships were doing Marines operation and they were zoning on targets and things like that, and Apaches overhead and everything. And I was like, oh my God. But when I first got there, I was like, what I'm doing, I have no idea. These Calfex. And he's like, oh my, because you go from a class from Brecon of an SA-18 section, maybe up to a platoon level, which is great. That's what most infantry do. And then you move into Calfexes where you're holding the whole battalion and everything. Vehicles are coming through. So after about a year, I was very much involved in everything. But I was also there for the safe place as well. So we have radar systems out for the ship because Castle Martin's on the end of Flintshire of Wales. So they fire out into sea. So you can pretty much fire as long as you've got a template. And then, it's right down, and you can fire out.
Looking for it now,
right in Pembrokeshire, so it's great. And then my main sort of emphasis was RTR lads, and even KRH as well with the Challenger 2. And they'd come down, and I'd do most of their planning with their CEOs, with their bosses, with the RGSS, Regimental Gunnery Instructors, and we would literally sit down. But I would be like, well, what happens? What can a gunner see? And all that kind of stuff. So they say to me, oh, come on, some of them, come on, you know yourself, armoured cavalry officers are great. One question asked is, Q, can I drive my tank down the range, stop, open my turret and fire my pistol at a target? I was like, why would you want to do that? Why the hell would you want to do that? So I was like, no. So you get all these questions and stuff. And in the end, you're like, right, you need to get me in that tank so we can see what is going on, so people around you. And rather than, I wasn't a no person. So rather than saying, can we do this? No. I'd always look into it. And then me and the RGSS, guy called Trev, he basically, it took like a lot of time. He said, yeah, no worries. We'll get you in down just so you can have a see. And that is also like a thank you. I did a lot of work for them as well. Right. So, and then on the 14th of June, it was a massive mix-up day. So basically, they were doing live fire in the morning, and then our crew took over in the afternoon, but there were certain checks and things that weren't carried out and things not handed over. Not all that's changed now. Obviously, they've changed the pamphlets to enable that. But unfortunately, it was a massive snowball effect that started off something very small, and it made such a massive big thing. So there was lots of little things people didn't know what was going on, and unfortunately they were missing the BVA, which is a breech valve axle which stops the back pressure from the main gun. So when we got in there, the system was all up and running, the vehicle was on, we drove forward, but the operator, I mean, I'm not saying anything against it at all, didn't carry out NSPs as you wouldn't back then. You wouldn't now because the rules have changed, but because the system's up and running, one crew handed over from another, so everyone assumed that it just finished firing, it was on the firing pad. And like I say, it's all massive snowball effects. And then I was in the gunner's seat, operator next to me on the left, and the commander sat above me. And we drove forward, and nobody knew the BVA was missing. And they, because I was the weapons instructor there, they wanted to take me through the Challenger tank and the screen you can look at and all that. So we got talking for about 20 minutes, really. And they're really good, keen guys. And they're both rig instructors, so kind of similar to the world I've come from. Mine was small arms, where there was gunnery, and this is what they do, and they loved it. Both of them were talking to me about everything, and they're kind of like showing off their tank. They were so proud of their system, and it was great. And it was Matty and Daz, the two guys. They're both corporals, really good guys. And we loaded the system. Obviously, we loaded everything up. Daz closed the hatch down, and the target popped up, and we lasered into target. And then Daz, the commander, said to me, "Going to operate a trigger," and I was like, "Yeah, oh my god, I remember." I don't remember lots of it because obviously head injury and that kind of stuff. But I was like so excited, and because I fired anti-tank, it's very much firing. You get excited. Operate a trigger, and then nothing happened. And what I've been told, not so much my memory, but what I've been told is they had a red, so you get like a red drill, and then it all gone wrong, and then they manually loaded the red drill, took the mag off, and system went green, which is another thing from BVA systems and that, which is a mess up because they didn't think you could make a system green if the BVA was missing.
Right.
And then I operated a trigger, and unfortunately the explosion happened, but it all came back into the turret, which then ignited bad charges which were left out. And unfortunately, we lost two guys, two amazing guys, Daz and Matty. They unfortunately didn't make it, and then we were all pulled out of the tank, out the turret, and 3 helicopters came down. Mine was from Bristol, where Daz and Matty were a bit more injured than me, so they got taken to hospitals in Wales, and I was very, very lucky to be flown to Birmingham because that was all they had, and they took me to Birmingham, and then the roll-on effects started happening, and pretty much got to Birmingham, and it wasn't looking good. And my dad lives in Cyprus, ex-military, and he got knocked on the door about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. You need to make this where we'll pay for you to get to the UK. It doesn't look, you've got to say goodbye to son, basically. And that was on the Wednesday. And on the Thursday, the doctors came in, they said, you need to come and say goodbye. If he doesn't make it over the weekend, then it looks like he's, and then my heart was my strongest organ, and my lungs had failed, my kidneys failed, that kind of stuff. My heart kept pumping, and they were like, wow. And then literally over the weekend, I was still there. And then 2 weeks later, they were like, oh my God, he's still going. These machines started disappearing. I mean, this is all the story that everyone's told us. My partner Samantha told me because she was there from day one.
Yeah.
And and it's literally like you wake up. I think I woke up. I was in a coma for about 4 to 5 weeks, but it was all induced with my burns and stuff. And then I don't really remember much. About week 7, and I was in the burns unit. I was like, what's going on, and then the rest is history, say. And that's when the diving comes back into it, because Mark Foster was my surgeon, and he helped with my hands and all that other kind of stuff as well, military guy as well. And we just started speaking. And it's like you were saying earlier, you make friends in the most weirdest way in the dive world. And I can imagine I was all bandaged up, head to toe, bandaged up, like. And this guy said to me, I'll take you diving if you want. So I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. And gave me the motivation. And it helps well as well. It really gives you that goal.
You need some focus sometimes in your life, don't you, just to keep you moving forward rather than stalling. I tell you what, mate, that's a mega story. Obviously, I know what you mean. Like the loader looks over, doesn't it? It's LCP, the loader control panel. And you've got like a little traffic light system there. And if it's good to go, it's on green. And it's loaded. And if it's not, it's on red or amber, whatever. And obviously, you carry out your sort of actions on as per whatever it's telling you it's going on. Yeah. Bloody hell! I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Oh,
So one of the things that happened is obviously the long story short is this is all from the inquest as well.
yeah,
Is they've been firing in the morning and they told like that's you finished, you're not firing this tank anymore.
right.
So they started cleaning the kit, and one of the drills is to take the BVL, which is this massive, you know, it's like a big I don't know, bolt as such, which stops all the back pressure coming out of the rear of the gun and pushes everything forward.
Yeah.
So what you do is you get the Remy armour to check it for cracks and you give it a clean, and then what tends to happen is they get put away for the Remy armour to inspect. In this case, one of the guys cleaned it, took it out, and was told to put it back in the brew bin. And next to the operator is a big bin. And what they tend to do normally is stand it up in the brew bin so you could see it, so it's there. But this guy was a young guy, so I was told him he didn't really have much, he hadn't had much experience. So he took that literally and he put it in the brew bin and he put things on top of the bin. And to fit this thing in the brew bin is hard in itself, but he's done it.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff hidden, not hidden, but like he just put stuff on top of it and it was never noticed. But even the operator's phone was placed in the brew bin. And they're like, well, how the hell did you see that? And he didn't see it because it was hidden so well as such. So when you get in, if you don't see it standing up and the system is running, the tank looks, it's on the firing position, that's it. And then what's happened is he's got a magazine with the TNEs in them. And then these like little, you know, you rounds up fire into the bag charge. And he's put it in, as he's cocked it or loaded it, it's fallen through because obviously normally it sits in the BVA.
Yeah.
So it's fallen right through. But where the system's up and running, maybe there was something on the ground, he didn't hear it drop and the system's gone red. But he didn't know it's gone all the way through. There's nothing in there. Yeah. So what he's done, he's come out the red drill. He's taken off the magazine and he's hand fitted a TNA onto the loader. Excuse me for the wrong acronyms. No. I'm not a tank. Yeah. And he screwed it in, but it sat there and it stayed there. And so when the weapon system's been fired, it's fired this electromagnetic charge. It had nowhere to go, so it's just bounced down and hit the bag charge halfway rather than the rear, as it would, and explode. The bag charges, and this is where all of us say we heard a hissing sound and all that kind of stuff. And that was a bag charge slowly burning, and suddenly, and where it's in a chamber and a tube, most of the breech got blown off the back of the weapon system, and then the heat ignited 4 other bag charges that are out as well. Which obviously
that breech is a bit of kit as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It was found at the back.
It's big as an old telly, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was blown unconscious at this stage, and then everyone watching said they'd seen the 2 hatches on top of the tank with jets coming up for about 20 seconds. So we were, unfortunately, you know, it was very bad burns. But I was all unconscious, so I don't remember any of it. So I was lucky in that fact. But they were told, the lads had watched it, seen it happen. They were told not to go any near it because they're expecting it, the whole turret to lift up, to explode.
Jeez. Yeah.
And then 2 lads actually have been awarded the gallantry medal. Now, a guy called Staff Sergeant, I'm saying I feel bad, Stu, I know him as, he came in and rescued us, but he sort of ignored higher command because they were like, don't go down. He was like, I'm going. So they grabbed loads of water and there was still stuff on fire and put stuff out and got us out. And it's hard to, you know, for yourself to rescue someone out of a burning turret. It's very hard. So these lads
even out that gunner's seat, it's even harder because you're in between the legs of the commander and he's proper tight.
This guy, he ripped the commander seat out and then put human strength, you know, you've got to get your guys out sort of thing, yeah. And then unfortunately Daz and Matty didn't make it. But, you know, that's
well, my brother, for illness purposes rather than an injury as such, he was in an induced coma like you, and he seems to remember an awful lot from being in that coma, like people talking or conversations people had, you know. I found it really weird, I've got to say, going in and trying to chat to someone that looks dead. Let's be honest. It was proper weird. I'm like, hey, I'm here, you're right. And then just ignore. Do you remember any of that?
So I always freak out when people go Stuart, because my name's Stu, obviously, and they call me when they go Stuart, because I remember, it sounds really, really weird, like maybe like an Asian person going Stuart. Yeah. Because what it was somebody trying to wake me up, I think, and I remember it being really red, but I don't remember much more than that. But I did say to my family, did anyone get any pictures? As you do, most squaddies, like, you weren't allowed at all. But what happened at hospital was really good. They write, if you're in a induced coma or an ITU, they write a daily book about what you've done, and obviously laying there, you lay there again. But
we washed your bollocks at 9 o'clock this morning.
That kind of stuff. So this woman, she did what? My missus did a really good one though. She said, one point during my coma, I was trying to get my leg out, and I kept moving. They said, "Oh, he's trying to wake up, trying to wake up." And she's like, "No, I can smell it. It's just had a poo." Obviously, you've got a tube stuck up your ass. And I was like, "What the hell stuck in my bum?" You know what I mean? I was uncomfortable, but yeah, loads of stories that come out, and it's like, wow.
Mega. I remember they took loads of Polaroids of our kid when he was in, with all the drugs and stuff. They were all like injectors that were being pumped in. He had meningitis.
You weren't allowed, apparently. That's what I got told. Nobody's allowed to take pictures.
Well, this had been, I was 18, so 98, thereabouts, 98, 99. And he was in a children's ward. He had meningitis. Survived. He lost a lot of his fingertips, so he's more like knuckles now. Seems to be all right, though. You know, he's getting on with life. You just got home, haven't you, and crack on.
Yeah. So it's all I do. I love it now. And there's so many guys out there worse off than I am. Yeah, I'm scarred and I'm missing fingers and stuff. But honestly, it's just, I'm kind of happy. Not happy, obviously the wrong word, but I would be a lot more upset if I was a lot younger. If I was 21 or something, getting burned and things like that is not, that's it. So I've lived my life. I've got a really loving and supportive partner. I've got my son in my life. I always look at the two lads that we lost. They left behind families and kids, and it's so. Sometimes I always feel, and this is like the darker side of things as well. Maybe like the PTSD and stuff. Is you feel I wish they took me and left them too.
Almost like the survivor's guilt.
So like massive survivor's guilt, and you go through that. I've done, I've had psychologists with me and all sorts, and of course you go through that, and it is hard. But my massive belief, if I sat there in doom and gloom, then I wouldn't be the person I am today, and you become sort of like a hard person to live with as well. And but I massively believe though, having hobbies, i.e. diving, definitely, and supportive people in your life. And my partner's brilliant. She stood with me day one, and she we only were together for about 3-4 months before the accident, and then literally, to find out your partner you've been with like 3-4 months is severely burned, and my face is all burned, all that kind of stuff. She stood by me, and she's like, "No, I'm staying," and she's brilliant. Like, and then I think that gave me the goal in life.
I bet that must have gone through your head, thinking, "Oh, she doesn't need all this,"
Yeah, massively. Yeah. Well, my who said it? So she actually, her and my best mate were there the night it happened, because she knew my best mate at the time. Yeah. So she phoned him, and he was in Sandhurst, teaching at Sandhurst. Right. So he drove up from Sandhurst to Birmingham, and they were both there. And she always says to me, "I was going to go because your family was about to walk in." So she felt, because she hadn't met any of them, because it's only been like 3-4 months. She was like, didn't really know them. And as my dad walked in, obviously living from Cyprus with my sister, they're like, "No, stay. Honestly, you're entitled to all of us. Stay, please stay." And she did in that moment. So, but you can imagine the couldn't you? Right, that's it. I'm out of here. Like, I don't need this dramas.
But it does speak volumes, doesn't it, for people when you're going through a tough time, and those that are around you, those that hang around, those that message you and send messages and ring up when you don't need to.
Absolutely, and I always find now it doesn't matter if you've got lots and lots of friends on social media. It's the 1 or 2 or 3 is a real close friend. I definitely agree with that. The people that put the time and effort in when you most need it are the ones who are going to support you.
It's not the money. It's not gifts. It's time for me. Yeah. If you don't have to, for instance, for a birthday present or a Christmas present, you could spend £5, but 3 weeks making whatever you've done for £5. And Absolutely, I'd be so chuffed with that than if you spent £500 on something I don't really need or I could buy myself. It's that
I totally agree with you. Yeah, it is that effort. It comes to effort in, but they know you as well. So if someone bought you like a pink T-shirt, but you don't wear pink, you're like, "Oh yeah, cheers," because they've just gone to shops and bought them. Yeah. But they put something really like this guy. I know he likes this and likes that. And it doesn't matter if it costs £2, £20. It's not about the money.
It's funny you said that, because this T-shirt I've got on here, you'll recognise this. One man's diffie is another man's buckshy. But my mate, he got me this for my birthday, and he got me another one, and it says across the, "I'm the reason for safety briefs," or something like that. And he's right. The fact that he's bothered to look at just some daft stuff that kind of fits me.
As well. Loads of diving lads are starting their own T-shirt company as well. And 2 lads, one engineer lad who lost his legs, another lad, rifle lads, who lost a bit more, and he just was both divers, and they have their own T-shirt company and they sell online. Yeah. Offensive veterans. Have you heard of fins and taps as well?
No.
Because I know you put your stuff on Facebook about shark fins and that.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about it. I'm sure Mick will probably know more though. Yeah. Like Andy Reid, who's an ex-colonel, and he's a diver out in out in South America.
Right.
So they do all the research. He's basically bought his own boat and everything and put it into fins attached, and they're going down doing loads of research of sharks, and they took an ex couple of I think squaddies, injured guys as well, and the next they want to do the same again, tiger sharks and to tag hammerheads and all that. And I'm well up for that, like trying to get it. So if I'll tell him, like, but Nick will probably know more than me.
Yeah, we signed on for one up in Scotland later on in the year with Basking Shark Scotland.
Yeah,
it's 500 quid each for the week. Everything's in, and it's like a research trip. So you can take your camera, which I'm obviously quite into now. You can get in, you do some tagging. We take some photography, we do a lot of learning, and then we take a lot of back, and there's a lot of research about it. So, it's only in Scotland, isn't it? You don't have to go to the other side of the world to do it, and it's for me.
I went to Scotland last year with the it's diving the injured, but it's the guys from DMS, the defence medical guys, and they hire the engineer house in up near the Isle of Skye.
Right.
And basically, Nick knows it. He's teaching all the where you go and do your Navy diving, I think it is, but the engineers use it as well. And so we went there and stayed, and that was really good.
Mega.
That's water and the stuff down there as well.
So going from a little bit further back in your life, did you dive before you joined the army, or as a kid, or before?
Yeah, so I dived as a kid. When my dad was military, and he was a diving instructor, and I was a BZAC as well. And we lived in Hong Kong, so I actually, even though you're not supposed to, but 8 years old, he used to put the kit on me in the pool and push me in the water, and then I learned to swim and do that, and then I did my first dive 8, 9, and then one of my last dives, I remember, I think I was about 12, 13, and I was qualified ocean diver, and he gave me a wetsuit that was too big, and we'd come from Hong Kong, and we're diving in Weymouth, and the wetsuit was too big, and I nearly went down hypothermia, so I was like, nah, I ain't doing this again.
Not doing that ever again.
Not doing that again, yeah, so I didn't dive for a long time, and then when I joined the military, I went like an adventure training, went to the Red Sea, did that back in like 2001. And then I hadn't dived for a long, long time, and then obviously got injured, and then got myself involved through the diving with the injured guys to go diving with all the injured guys, which is great. It's mainly the difference with diving the injured though is you get a lot of these charities who take you diving. These guys are just through Birmingham. So if you get injured and you go through Birmingham, for example, and you somehow think there's a hospital in Birmingham helps you with their charity, they help you go away. But the difference is you're going away with doctors and nurses. So it's not just about the guys who are injured that we need to help them, let them have a good time. It's also about letting the doctors and nurses know how to cope with these guys, because some of them they see you in a bed 6, 7 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. You've lost your legs, you lost your hands, whatever, and then you're on your way. But actually, they don't see the rest of it. What I can do. Yeah. So when I first went, it was very much I was with Mick and I was with Lou and that as well, and it was trying to work out how I would cope. But the one in Djibouti, I was used more of look, I can show you, I can do this, and this is how you do that. So the guy who runs it, called Mark Foster, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Foster, he brings younger nurses, student nurses, and younger doctors just to see, look, you don't need to sit there and give them advice how to do stuff. They will tell you what they want and how they do it. Yeah. So it works both ways, and I think that's such a brilliant idea. Right. And you have a mixture of like 10 doctors and 10 patients, or 10 doctors, nurses, right. 10 patients. But you've got the guys who are at the beginning stage of their injuries to guys who, there's some guys who've been injured for 10, 12ve years. And they're still milking it, aren't they? Check them out. They're still milking it, yeah. As soon as they say, like, we'll take you to Maldives, I'm like, yeah, no worries, mate, yeah. Like, again, mate, yeah, I need to go. Yeah. Let's do Scotland as well, then. But yeah, it's too cold. Nah, I'm all right this week. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, it's great, like, really good concept, I thought. But we did the dive show in Birmingham as well. Was it just gone? Last year. September, October, November time. So, yeah. We had a little stand there, and it was great. Really good. I'm gutted I didn't go now because I perhaps would have bumped into you, but we were away. One of a couple. I think we were in the Red Sea ourselves actually on a liverboard through some lads I met down at Joint Services. Invited us both. So my wife, she dives, but she's not military at all. She's managed to get on dive exped, you know her. How cheeky is that? Yeah. Have you got any more? Give me a shout. I'm free most of the time. So you'd learned to dive as a kid as such, not dive then for almost probably best part of 25, 30 years? Yeah, long time, yeah. So when your surgeon went, do you fancy getting in the water? Obviously him dropping the bottom of it being the Maldives, that kind of greased the wheels a little bit. But knowing you had such severe lung damage, how did you manage to recover from that? So we had a massive process. So when I was at Headley Court, I had to go through loads of respiratory physio,
Yeah.
and we do all that kind of stuff. So my lungs were very badly burnt out, and they had you can X-ray lungs, and I had damaged bronchioles, but like the spongy part of your lungs is pretty much damaged in mine. So if you go civvy and say, I want to go diving, not a chance, not a chance at all. But I'd done loads of rehab, and I got a specialist medical diving officer to look at my lungs, and you get through loads of tests, put you on a treadmill and get you to blow things and all that. And then, and obviously I'm missing an ear as well. So it's like equalizing your ears and stuff to make sure my eardrum so it was okay as well. So it was all part of the process. But a lot of it as well, what really helped me was the guys I dive with. So it's Defence Medical Diving Services, because they're all doctors and surgeons, they are all pretty much know exactly what to say and where to do and how to do it. So when you go away with them, yes, they are there medically, but also there as your dive buddies, but they know what the score is as well. So I feel massively in their hands, like, no worries.
I get it.
But doing like O2 courses, you're getting an O2 course from a surgeon. So, CPR and then stuff, you're getting like, wow, this is amazing. Like,
What would normally take 20 minutes off me takes 4 weeks off him because he's going into
the
ins and outs.
Well, But it's going back to the visa thing as well. I always found we do a lot of recovery and a lot of medical stuff as well, which is really good. But they're really into it. So I always believe when I dive with these guys, I'm in the best hands. I'm literally in the best hands. The surgeon guy actually talking about fins attached was out. He was tagging sharks, but the way they started doing it, showed me a video, was they would catch a shark, bring it on board, and he would put a tag inside and sew it up within like 20, 30 seconds. Right. So rather than the shark swimming with loads of tags, he's got a tag inside him, and off they go. So these are the best surgeons in the world doing all sorts of stuff, and it's crazy. It's like, wow.
I'd love to get more involved. The guy I interviewed last week, who will be on next week, he runs the Shark Education Institute, and I met him on my first dive exped out in Forteventura. He's from Lisbon in Portugal, and he seems to interact with so many different people and do so much good in this world. And I think I'm missing a trick here. I mean, being stuck in the middle of Wigan, and, a good hour, a good 2 hours from anywhere worth diving in the sea, that is. If I only lived nearer the coast, I could do more. But then, through the conversation me and him had, there's loads you can do. Hence me putting these little things on about shark finning and all this sort of stuff. You don't have to be near the water to dive. You can. No, definitely not. Well, you do need to be near the water to dive, but to interact with it, which is again kind of why I started this podcast or YouTube or whatever. It's it's an easier.
Well, the guys, my club's in Birmingham. You know what I mean? You can be further away from the water.
Around the corner.
It doesn't matter about that. Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah. I really want to get into more of the shark stuff. I'm still fairly new in this whole diving thing, but doing like the Maldives and Djibouti and things like that, I do too. But we were supposed to go to the Red Sea this year. Obviously, it's been cancelled due to coronavirus. But I was really looking forward to it, and I think I'd absolutely crap myself. But I really want to do it though. So that's the kind of stuff I want to.
Well, that's what we did in September. We went down to the Brothers Islands, and the white-tipped oceanics were coming past us. So they give you a massive briefing. They show you videos of how or why the last guy that went in there got his arm chewed off or whatever it was. Yeah. And they tell you all these techniques of what you should and shouldn't be, where you should be in the water column. And you can clearly see after they give you this brief of don't kick your legs like mad because it'll draw their attention. Don't be in the top 6 meters of water, be below it. Yeah. Well, this guy's up there, both his legs going nuts, and he's like trying to kick it away. So it just wants to know what's going on. Doesn't have any hands, does it? So what does it do? Go in with its head? With its mouth wide open?
Yeah, how do you, so on the shark diving side as well, the one thing I've always, obviously they say keep low in the water. But when you're coming up and you're doing deco stops and that as well, that's got to be quite scary.
50p, 20p, isn't it?
I would be like, whoa.
Well, so we swam out, there's a wreck right at the front of the reef, of the northernmost point of the reef, and we dived on that, and as we were swimming back, we knew we were going to encounter these sharks, and they just come in, and they're just proper, just mosey on along, like they can't be arsed. They kind of look over the shoulder and go, nah, and just keep going, and the fins are nice and low, and they're just dead gentle and placid. They just don't care, and we're slightly below them, so
I think they're in the top 5 meters of water, and they're looking for food. That's where their food would be. So at 6 meters for your safety stop, you're fine. And obviously, they don't go too near the boats. Well, it's not obvious, but they don't go too near the boats. So you're all right getting out. But there is that, your head's up, your hands are all, get out quick.
I would be looking everywhere.
Yeah.
Just in case, yeah. One of the best ones we've done was, obviously nothing like maybe like nurse sharks. It was one of my very first dives. It was not very first dive, but in the Maldives, we went 2018. We did a night dive under a pier, and there was literally, I've got a video somewhere, these nurse sharks going through your legs around. It was absolutely amazing. And you can hear me laughing my head off because I just don't know what to do.
No.
I'm like, these sharks are going past me. It'd just be amazing to up the game a little bit more than nurse sharks. Nothing. Yeah.
But what he said, Fernando, his name is that they're not as inquisitive. They're quite shy, and that's all sharks. So either you antagonise them or give them interest by chumming or fucking around in the water where you shouldn't be. How many people used to cage dive around white sharks in South Africa? Now you see them free diving and snorkeling with great whites because they've learned that body language of the shark. Well, if you don't bring it in for a particular reason, it's not coming in looking for food. It's just mooching past, I guess. So I've not dived with loads of sharks. I've dived with a few different ones, and we did an angel shark in January in Lanzarote, and I was like, honestly, no further away than my mug is from my face, right up against it. It was just laid on the ground, on the deck, and I had my camera right up in front of it, and it didn't care, just not bothered, because I wasn't doing anything I shouldn't have been. And you just kind of behave.
Just in the water around them kind of animals, them creatures because we did it in Djibouti with the whale sharks.
Yeah.
You get a lot of people finning around whale sharks and kind of stuff, but the best experience I had, which we did loads of snorkeling on, it was great, but it's when we actually dive in 20 minutes down, it swam past us, and it's like this massive shadow, and it's just in the presence of something great. Do you know what I mean? Like,
colossal.
Honestly, you're like, what? I couldn't believe it afterwards, and I was like, even though I finned with one for about 20 minutes trying to get a film and take an air, when you're actually down there and it's in there, and they disappear like that as well, whale sharks. They stay at a level for about 3-4 meters, then suddenly it was gone. You're like, where's it gone? Yeah.
You only see them just cutting around, don't you? You don't see them like dashing about.
No.
But
Proper chilled.
Even though they're a different colour, they seem to blend in not too distant or not too far a distance, do they?
It was amazing,
So obviously, with your surgeon getting you back into diving, was it through BSAC's Diving for All program that you went through?
Yeah. So I literally went through the BSAC through him. He was the SADS officer, and when I was injured 2017, and then pretty much the beginning of 18, and the trip was at the end of 18. We've done loads of BSAC programs, so ocean diver, and then because I dived before as well, I was lucky enough to go on to sports diving. It was a lot of full work as well, and for me there was a lot of rehab as well. So I had to make sure my lungs were fine. Had to go to the medicals, and then we had to send off for the qualifications and stuff as well. And then we've done a few shore dives and things like that. And then before I know it, the year was up, and we were on a boat, liverboard in the Maldives, and I was trying to get my promotion diver to sports diver, and it was like, oh my god, So yeah, but yeah, it was a process of these for the whole process. Then I was lucky enough after that trip. I think I got like 50 dives or something by the time I got my sports dive. 30 dives for sports diving and 50.
Yeah.
And then I did my IFC in, I think it was September 19. So because I want to do my dive leader next. I did my IFC, and I did that in Swindon through BSAC as well. So, that was a good weekend. I recommend that as well, because where I was injured and I didn't really have a sport hobby, so I got in this, and I thought, you know what, I would love to give something back.
Yeah.
So because a lot of the guys that are instructing us at the defence medical guys are doctors and nurses, and they know, and they're dive leaders and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted be one of the guys who's injured guys help another injured guy.
Yeah.
So myself, because my hand's missing, I'd love to have another guy with an arm or a leg missing, so I can say, well, actually, this is what I do. Try that. So that's why I wanted to go on the instructor. And I got the bug. I massively got the bug because I was the same as you. I thought a lot of guys, I do my sports diver. It means I'm a little bit deeper. That's me happy. Yeah. And I've known guys who stayed at sports diver for a long time, But I wanted to go a little bit further just so I could help. And it kind of sounds a bit cheesy, but I really do want to. Amazing thing. I really just want to help guys. Let's try this.
So that's kind of what I've gone that same sort of full circle where, like I said, I had no interest whatsoever. I just wanted to dive in that little bit deeper, because there's something down there that I could go and
Yeah,
see.
exactly
It wasn't,
that.
let's try and get to 900 metres, 40, 50 metres, that's it. There's plenty there. That'll do for me. And the group of people I dive with, I can't go any deeper, so why?
Yeah.
But that, having done that course, I can now help other people not make the same mistakes I did, because I have had some very good instructors or instruction, whether it be through joint services or whoever, that I'm very fortunate to have had through being in the army.
Yeah.
And the way we're taught to teach in the army or to instruct.
I was going to say that as well. I think a lot of guys who have done maybe some sort of instructor course in the military can bring a lot of that into loads of civvy stuff, i.e. the diving world, because I think I was trying to go, I was trying to tick off one of my tasks for the dive leader out in Djibouti, and the senior diver was going through me. I think it was leader dive or something.
What? The senior diver was going through you?
The senior diver took me down and took me down.
I took you down? All right.
Right, okay, let's have
You went diving.
So I went diving with the senior instructor to do my task of dive leader, whatever it was, and leader dive. And he actually failed me on the first one because I was too nice. And I was going, come on, because he was like, he's this senior diver, and he had a camera and some pictures, like, yeah, no worries. And I wasn't controlling as much as you expect. So he said to me, right, unfortunately, you need to keep calling me. And I went, yeah, you're Lieutenant Colonel, you're in charge of the sector. I'm not going to say come here and sit to me. No, you have to. So we'll go again this afternoon. Yeah. And I went to Brecon phase. Right, listen here. This is it. Things pointing everything. I was about to do it. And at the end, he went, okay, that's much better. And he was like, right, again. And I literally went into Brecon army instructor mode. Do as you're told. Do this. Do now. Come here and do as you're told. And he's like, yeah, brilliant.
Well, that's kind of why I had Steve on the very first episodes, is because that's what he's always instilled in me. So it doesn't matter what level or what rank or appointment you've got in the army. When you go on adventurous training, on a dive expedition, you as a trooper or private soldier can be commanding a lieutenant colonel,
absolutely,
or even higher. And it's probably the only time that private and lieutenant colonel are going to get face to face, and he can show off what sort of skills he's got that he would never see or never hear about until he's probably almost pushing sergeant, really, isn't he? So it's good in that respect. But so what modifications have you had to make? Obviously, you just talked about your injuries a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm not as bad as like some guys. I basically I have got a new DSMB reel. So with my reel, I stick like a loose cord around my wrist, right, and then that would go. But I've got probably one sort of turn in, and it's got a lock on it. It's also locks off and locks on. Yeah. I've tried all the other finger reels and things. I can't do both because, like, obviously you're not supposed to hang anything onto your wrist because you get caught. But mine's a slip one, and that's all we can do really. A lot of my stuff's on my right hand side, and then pretty much that's it really. You've just got to go with it, and it's very much with me. It's like, let's give this a go. Let's just try that and see if it works. And I've come up with a couple of guys that it didn't work. I think once we came up and I had a finger reel on my DSMB, and I passed it onto the rib, and the guy let it go, and the reel just went 20 meters down. I was like, great. So it's just, you literally got to learn, and you just got to, But my hands aren't the best. I mean, I've done a quick bent and twisted, but you just get on with life, really.
So you've got to make it work, haven't you? Otherwise, you can't do it. So,
and then I never wanted to do, and that was honestly on my first expert. It was like, is this going to work? And obviously, I question that, especially my lungs, my ear as well, because you're always worried about whether you can, you can equalize. Yeah. There's lots of stuff going on, and then when I've done more and more, I was actually, I really enjoy it now. So it's almost like a challenge every time. Let's make this work rather than this isn't going to work. And I hate that actually. You get a lot of guys, maybe in the military, just go on exercise. Oh, this is crap. You're going to go sit in the woods for 4 days. When I was always the kind of like, let's make this work. Let's enjoy it. And because you always, when you go on exercise in the military, afterwards, it's always crap at the time. It always rains as well. Yeah. But it's always a joke. And everyone remember from that. Oh, remember that time we were in the harbor? And that's my sort of attitude in life, is that just take it both by hands and see what happens, but don't give up.
So have you come across any limitations or any sort of plus points to your life through getting in the water?
Yeah, I enjoy life a lot more now. I'm trying to think limitations, not really. I don't think.
As in like really depth, with you saying your lungs or your ears?
Yeah.
Are you depth limited other than through
your
not at all.
No, so what I would be, so my equalizer is really good. So my eardrum, and that works on my left-hand side. I can't pop my ear though, so it's constantly equaliser. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I do it with my right still, so that's fine. That's no problem. My hands are a little bit limited because of what I was just saying about certain things you can handle and stuff like that. But you've just got to try your best and see what happens, I guess, and then just try that. And especially like putting fins on and getting yourself dressed as well, because it's quite hard to not help. Just one thing I've learned from my whole injury, which I was really bad at as a soldier as well, because it's like you don't ask for help, and you always learn to get on with it, do it yourself, just get on with it, chin up. Becoming a civilian in the diving world, it's very much like I've got to take that away and go, can you help me? And it is, I mean, it's a little bit dissatisfying, and it's not great, but you have to do it in certain things.
I think I don't even think it's an army thing, I think it's just being a man.
I do, yeah, honestly, I think so. Yeah, it really is, yeah.
I slipped at work last week. I got the little tiniest nick on my thumb. It were pissing my blood. And the couple who I was working for seen me faffing with this little, it wasn't squirting, but it was, my hand were red as fuck. And I'm faffing around and they're coming out, do you want any help? I'm like, no, I'm fine. So instead of them bringing out, some nice warm water to wash it, I'm lick it, spit on it. The chances are I'm probably going to get a manky thumb through that instead of taking the help that I should have done, because you don't really seem to be weak, do you?
No, and that's exactly it, isn't it? Yeah. I think you get drilled into it. Whether as a young boy or whatever, during the military, you get drilled. Just get on with it. That was my sort of life, fall off a tree, fall off a bike, don't cry, get on with it. I very much learned these days, especially I've got a young son myself now. It's all about embracing that and going, actually, he's hurting, so therefore I give him a coach, look after him until he's all right, and such and such. And, also for myself as well, it's asking, and I hate it. I absolutely hate asking for help, but that's one thing I've definitely learned through diving world, is that there's certain things I have to ask for help. And that's,
do you only dive wetsuit now, so warm water stuff, or do you dive dry suit?
Yeah, I do dry suit as well, yeah. So Scotland last year, 2019, dry suit, so that was really good. I did a dry, Lou actually took me through before, Lou Stewart, and she took me through dry suit and all that kind of stuff. It was great. So we did that in Isle of Skye sort of area. Went down to 30 metres as well, so that was really good.
It's a flipping difference, isn't it, when you go from one to the other?
Honestly, my first dive in a dry suit, I had a bit of a panic attack. So I went down with my dive buddy, who was dive lead. I was only sports diver at the time. So we went down, and bear in mind, most of my dives have been like the Maldives and like nice warm weather, and with the wetsuit different. So I went down to about 10 metres, and I was like, oh my God, my lungs are really bad, because I was worried about my lungs as well. And in cold water and that kind of stuff, it makes you a bit worried. And then we surfaced up afterwards and said, you're okay? And I said, no, I'm feeling a bit iffy sort of thing. He goes, you put air into your dry suit to loosen it up. I went, it went down that side. Oh, that's so much better. He wasn't pinching me, and I was like, I can't breathe. It's pinching me. And it was nothing to do with my condition. It was literally pinching me, and I was like, I can't breathe. So yeah, give yourself a little bit of air, you'll be fine, right? Okay, so that's always stayed in my mind now.
That's amazing. So you seem to be in your rugby then. I've seen you've been watching a bit of Army versus Navy and that. Did you play rugby when you were in the Army?
No, I didn't know. God, I played rugby as a kid when I was school, and I did trials for Sussex and things like that at like 13 and 14. Right. And then I stayed the same height, and everyone started getting bigger than me, so I sort of started hurting. So I sort of stopped rugby about 15. And then I never joined them when I was in the military. I never done any of that. But like the rugby side of stuff, like the Army Navy, obviously you've got to do a bit of Army Navy during the time. But when I was at Headley, we got tickets to Twickenham quite a lot. Yeah. So that was really good. We got right front row seats from Headley.
It's flipping big, isn't it, Twickenham? It's flipping
massive, yeah. I watched England, Wales, Six Nations, 2018, I think it was, and that was like, oh my God, amazing. Yeah.
I'd only ever been to sort of like Wigan Latics, Wigan Rugby League's ground, like what was, I think it's DW Stadium now, it used to be JJB or something. And that's like, it's nowhere near as big. You go to Twickenham and you're like, wow. And then you realise you could, if you put everyone that was in the British Army in there, there'd still be seats spare.
Yeah, mad, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
Twickenham was, I think, one of the best days I had was Army Navy 2017, just before my injury actually. Yeah. And listening to the national anthem being sung by so many, it's that's, if you want to hear the national anthem sung, that's, I think it gives you goosebumps as well. It's amazing. So so I just got my lad a rugby ball because he said he wanted to do rugby. He's only 11 years old. Yeah. So we were out in our sort of area playing rugby, and that's, so he's trying to get him into it as well because he's more football. Like, come on, let's go play rugby over here.
I used to have a training major, and he used to call football kiss ball. He fully hated football. I don't like it either. I've just, even though like where I grew up, they were all predominantly Scousers.
Yeah.
An area of Wigan that most of Scousers had moved to, like when it must have been in the heyday, like, and so everybody was either Liverpool or Everton, and I was just like, nah. I've always preferred rugby. I've never been particularly good. I played it at school and that. But. So with your injury, were you a fit guy beforehand?
Average, really, nothing. I wasn't like PTI or anything like that.
No.
None of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I passed all the tests and stuff.
Yeah.
Done skiing, done a bit of diving, obviously,
Yeah.
just things like that really. But I was never picked for any like sports.
I'm more thinking more, about you sort of recuperation and your rehabilitation. If you were, generally a fit guy, that would have or probably did help you being,
They do say that. So they say with my injuries, because obviously I was so badly injured, and when with burns, you don't actually die of burns. You die because things break down, i.e., kidneys, lungs, and as soon as they stop everything stops failing. That's what kill you. But with me, they said my heart was, and it must have been where I was a bit fit maybe, that my heart was really strong, and that brought everything back onto it. But then going on to the rehab side of stuff as well, getting yourself, walking again, and you have to have some. I imagine if I was, this is where I'm very lucky. I mean, I'm 40 now, but imagine if this happened when I was maybe 45, 46, I probably wouldn't be sat here now because it's that close.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah.
How sort of badly burned were you?
What saved me was my body armor.
Right.
I was wearing body armor. I'm burnt everywhere else. My legs are burnt. My boots saved me, so I'm burnt up to my ankles. My front and back of both my legs, both my arms, and my head, neck.
Right.
Here. You can actually make out a vest. But the problem you've got is when I've got the body armor on, that's what hasn't burned. So if you go get burnt on your body, that's a lot more percentage.
Yeah. So
that saved me from wearing that massively. But the problem is where your burnt skin, they do skin grafts. Yeah. Where they're going to take the skin grafts from, all from my torso and back. So I've now got stripes all up my torso, front and back, where they've taken the skin to replace the rest of me. Yeah.
I had a mate as a kid, and he must have been early teens, so let's say early 90s, mid 90s, and he'd gone to his grandparents for a barbecue, and for whatever reason they had a chip pan on, so his granddad's trying to do all the cooking as us blokes do at a barbecue, and Nan's running around after all the kids. Chip pan catches on fire, so granddad, instead of just turning it off and putting a wet dishcloth over it, I'll throw it outside through the back door as my mate's walking through it.
Wow. Yeah.
So you can imagine that. But he's up to there. Everything down is just.
Yeah. So it's horrendous.
At that time, every kid is running around, aren't they, with no t-shirt on, playing football. Yeah. He couldn't run around. He wouldn't take any. Everything was long sleeve. You can imagine, and he just.
I just feel with me, I'm really lucky where I have my body armor. That's saved me because I think if you take away your torso, that's I don't think I'd be sat here now because you go that more percentage. It's done. Yeah. But the operator next to me, he didn't have his body arm. It probably wouldn't have saved him because he had the bag charges round him. But it may have helped a little bit. But, unfortunately, yeah.
See, one thing that interests me, certainly my brother, I mean, he's perhaps not lost as much of his hands as you have, but he still gets these I've heard these phantom pain talks in perhaps people who've had much bigger amputees, fully no legs and all this sort of stuff, and they're like, I can still wiggle my feet, my toes. You're like, do you get that?
Yeah, I still get it now. So I've still, if I'm looking away from my hand, I've still got a thumb, index finger, middle finger, little finger, and I'm wiggling and touching. I like go to touch my leg, but it's like, oh, missed it, because so you get it all the time. I heard the story that if you get injured and you wake up with a missing limb, it's almost like the limb's there. So one of the tricks they used to teach you in Headley in that is they put a mirror on your opposite leg, so it looks like you've got another leg, and you scratch where it would be, and that gets rid of the scratch.
Wow.
There's loads of these tweets and stuff. Yeah, it's like somebody I think told me a story, and they were walking past an amputee guy, and he was scratching the end of his bed, and everyone kept looking, what's he doing? Said, oh, he's just scratching his feet, and because it's your mental mind telling you that's you get an itch and you hurt, and it's not there. So it's stuff like that, really. Yeah, you just gotta. That's quite.
See, obviously the physical scars are really easy to talk about because I can see them, you can show them. But how bad did you sort of have it with having to talk, to talk to people to get over the, you talked before about this survivor's guilt and stuff. Has that been a big issue for you?
Yeah, I think to start off with, it's very hard because when you're doing everything and when suddenly life changes just like that, a lot of saving grace for me is I couldn't remember a lot. So when I woke up in hospital, I did have a massive support around me. My family was there for me.
Yeah.
My partner was there for me, and it was a massive support. I find, like I said earlier, that really helps, I think. But I always feel for the guys who don't have anyone around them, and they're the ones I think we need to protect and look after. And that's what it is for me. So I was being injured in the military at the stage I was taken to heavy court. I was given the best treatment. And that really helped me lots. But the guys that aren't, who don't have them, they're the sort of ones that you see this all the time, especially guys who come back from tour and not so much get injured, but they've seen stuff, but they don't ask for help. And then 2 years later, that's it. And so I was speaking to a guy called Mickey Yule. I don't know if you know Mickey Yule, engineer lad who lost both his legs.
No.
So he was a snatch growing up in Afghanistan. And we were chatting one day about PTSD and all that kind of stuff and how it affects. And I couldn't remember any of what happened to me. And that was kind of like a saving grace as well, because I don't remember being in the tank. And he said, it's going to come back. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, one day, somebody's going to trigger something in your mind to make it come back. And I was like, oh God. So I really regretted it. And I was like, oh, please don't, please don't. So I was kind of like holding that back, and that didn't help. And I was like, oh my God. But when we done the inquest, part of the inquest to find out what happened to me and the lads as well who passed, was they put loads of bag charges together and they put it in the middle of the field and they lit it and filmed it to show you what it looks like, blah, blah, blah. So they played that video, and instantly I was inside the turret and I seen the back blast and I seen the fire and smoke, and it brought back not massive visual, but like I had like a flashback.
I get it.
And I was like, oh my God. But I think because the chat with Mickey beforehand, I was at ease with it because I knew it was coming. So I was in reality. So I wasn't in the moment, screaming down the street. But I knew I was having the flash, if that makes sense. So a lot of it is, it's just weird. It's like the mental attitude and mental way you adjust to things these days you've got to cope with it, because otherwise you don't even lose it. And I think guys who come up and forward and do struggle, they have to ask for help, because if you don't, you're on your own. And for me, I know for a fact, and I always say to my partner, Mrs. Sam, all the time, is if she wasn't in my life, I think we'd have two totally different people. It's like,
I had counselling for totally different reasons a few years ago. I'd looked for that counselling. So when I went for it, I was open to it. And I was like, I was just on like permanent send. It was like Radio Andy for about 10 minutes.
Relief, isn't it?
But equally, I got loads back from it. Because if you stand there and go, nah, there's nothing up, don't tell them anything, what can they help you with?
But do you know what? Right? Mine's nearly come to 3 years now, and just doing this talk right now, and bear in mind, chats with professionals, but even with a mate, like, meeting yourself, talking to yourself about, and it's taken me back to it. It does help me, and it's not like I love talking about myself.
No,
but it does. I think it helps, especially with people with like-minded sort of things as well. You can, like, this is great. I'm loving it. I'm like, I just chat all night with him, because it takes you away, doesn't it? It's like sometimes, especially when we went diving with the injured guys, it's like we're not talking about our injuries as such. We're talking about experiences and stuff you had, and you all got something in common, and it's just you're talking, and that is a massive relief. And you're almost like dropping stuff off your shoulders, because you're getting stuff that you've had on your shoulders so long. Like we talk about the guilt. There was a bit of survivor's guilt for me massively. But every time I talk about it, it's like that relief, because other people understand.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of guys that don't go there with an open mind or talk to people, they just they're the ones that will suffer even more. And maybe not at the moment, they maybe think, I'm hard as now as I can crack on. But if you actually go there with an attitude, like you said, open mind and chat, just do it. Nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to judge you.
No.
Well,
I think, certainly for me, I was kind of anxious a little bit to speak to you. A, because I don't know you, and B, I didn't know your story of like how you got injured and how open you would be to talk, other than I knew you wanted to come on. And I guess if I was to see you in this, if we were on a liveaboard together or whatever, I'd be kind of nervous to even approach you to ask you about it, because I don't know what's behind that gate or that door. As soon as you open it, it might be a world of pain, no pun intended. It might be you want to talk about it, but because we just don't know, because we've not been through that scenario. Whereas I'd still treat the next person I perhaps came across who was in a similar situation to you with that sort of slightly standoffish, because you don't know what that person wants. Do they want to talk about it? But then equally, I think people put you at ease by going, "Oh yeah, look what's happened." You know, you might just bring it up in conversation, and then you can have that conversation, and it's easy. But like I said, you personally, Stu, needs to want to talk about it to start with, and if you're willing to,
it's like when I've gone away on Liverpool, loads of guys injured. I don't go up to them and go, "Well, I'm due, mate," because it's like, but you've always got to like let the ball in their court and go, "If you want to talk about it, talk about it." You know, how you approach that is always, at the end of the day, we're not professionals. We're not here to do that.
No.
And I think the best attitude, advice to give anybody, I think if you're on a liveaboard with somebody who has some injury or whatever, is just treat them like you would anybody else. Because obviously, where I've been away with these guys before, and you don't want to go straight up to them and just start talking about their injuries. You just leave it to them. Like I said, it's very much like you've done to me tonight. So you know my sort of background, but your first question was, "What's happened to you, mate? Tell me your problems." It's like, let's talk about diving, let's talk about something, and then just see how it goes. And I think you've also got to see that person. We're not professionals at the end of the day. That's honestly the best advice I can give.
Yeah.
Funny story though, I was in holiday in Turkey last year,
Yeah.
and me, my missus, and my boy were all sat at a table, and this other couple with their kids and he just came along and just said, "What happened to you, mate?"
So Diving with the Injured, is that a charitable sort of organisation? Do they get sponsored by someone, or what's the script?
Yes. So Diving with the Injured, a charitable through Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Birmingham, and a lot of it is done through Help for Heroes, through Blesma as well. So altogether, but Diving with the Injured is the main charity through Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
Right.
And have you heard of Fisher House?
No, I don't think I have.
So Fisher House basically is a military house outside of the hospital, so right on the hospital grounds. And what Fisher House is, it's a house to support any families of anybody who's going through some sort of injury in Birmingham Hospital, military related, and then the family can go and stay. And it's a massive mansion, and it dates back to a guy called Mr. Fisher. I can't remember his first name, but he's out in America. And basically in America, he's an entrepreneur, and he's put all these houses for military injured guys, for families and that. And he came to Britain back before the Afghan sort of era and realised that there was nowhere for families to stay. So he built exact replica of the one from America.
Yeah.
And it's massive mansion that's got dining rooms, sitting rooms, ensuite bedrooms, and everything sky in the rooms, massive kitchen. Jeez. And you all go in there, and you can bring your whole family there. And Fish House is a charity in itself, which Diving the Injured sort of proceeds with. Yeah. And it's all through Queen Elizabeth, and that's how it works. But yeah, Fish House is brilliant. If you didn't know, being an ex-serviceman as well, you can go and stay in Fisher House if you're having an appointment in Birmingham Hospital and stuff like that, or you know somebody that's going through some sort of treatment. Right,
that'd be a good link to try and find out how we can try and raise a bit of money for people like that. Because I remember the first conversation I had about Help for Heroes as a charity a few years ago, and they were talking about how, not intentionally, as in people putting their hand in the pocket for Help for Heroes, but not perhaps for the Army Benevolent Fund anymore, or for the Poppy appeal.
Yeah, I get it.
And it was all going into the actual hospitals that people were coming home and going to, like Sally Oak at the time and places like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, well, that's pretty bad but I guess in some respects, charities, some are fashionable at times, aren't they? We're all in Afghan, so Help for Heroes was the big thing, and then now it's something else, isn't it? It's all to do with COVID, so the NHS, everyone wants to support them when they didn't give two fucks about them 10 years ago. So
and I think we live in times, don't we? It's whatever's popular.
Yeah, fickle, aren't they? A lot of people. But it's an hard one, isn't it? When we're all strapped for cash, we all want the best, and we all want to be seen to be doing something. You can't do everything, can you? So I think just keeping stuff alive by posting a link at the end of this in the podcast notes and that. People want to dip their hand in their pocket, they can. They're aware of stuff I wasn't aware of now, from what you said. So
I think my main one, it would be Diving the Injured, just the fact that they've taken me away from ice now. They got me back into diving, and it's just, I think that it's such a small charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only in Birmingham, but at the end of the day, it's helped me out. It's got me diving. It's got my love back for diving again, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Nick, one of the other guys I interviewed, he used to be RAF, and he was injured. Did his vertebrae in the back of the top of his neck. And he said every time he gets in the water, for him, it's a massive release. He's sort of pain free because of the way he must carry himself out of water. He must have his head at a jolty angle or something like that, and it hurts. As soon as he gets in the water, just that weight is released off his head, and he's pain free. he just needs a nose pipe now to be up to the surface forever and never come out of the water.
Yeah, it's floating about, isn't it? It just takes the weight off you. It's great. Yeah. We had a couple of guys in the Maldives, spinal injuries, and literally down on the floor. The crew would put their kit on and basically just flop into the water, and then they just float and off they go. It's great. And when they come up, people just help them obviously take the kit off, and they come up. But yeah, it's. I think once you're in the water, it's very like depth therapy. I think was one of the charities.
I've heard of that one. Yeah. So. Is that a release for you, or is it more just being in the water? Does that help you at all?
Mine's being in the water. Also, my skin, the salt water really helps my skin. It's really nice. It's like it's different. My skin's like really tight all the time. So when you're in, it's dead weird. So when I'm in cold air, my skin goes really tight and contracts. Everything's really tight on me. Right. When I'm in either obviously a dry suit, but you're moving, you're doing stuff, your skin's relaxed. But mainly when you're in warm, salty water, it's great for your skin, and it helps my scars as well. Right. But also for me, it's my hearing. Every day in my life, I'm always hearing noises and things and tinnitus in my ear. And if someone drops a plate, you jump 10 meters because I was in an explosion, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So when you're under the water, just nice, just listen to the bubbles and just, it's like carefree, isn't it? I love it. It's great.
My missus says it's the quietest point of our relationship. Because even in bed, I'm either talking in my sleep or snoring or something. Go in the water and she can't even hear me. Even if I was trying to shout at her, she can't hear me. So it's great. Well, I've got to say, mate, I really do appreciate your time. You've opened up my eyes to. I've never come across, fortunately, I suppose, anyone that's been as badly injured as you. So I've certainly learned a few things and opened my eyes to quite a lot there. So I really appreciate you being so open and sort of candid with what you talked about. Is there anyone you want to sort of give a shout out to while we're on?
My son, if he goes on YouTube, Jacob Lawson. What's this? But no, honestly, it's been really great. For me, this is still therapy for me, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because talking about things, especially something you've got interest with, it's great. And I had a great chat. Cheers, mate.
2 hours, mate. Have you seen how long it's 7:10?
If you're going diving, let me know. I want to come. I just want to dive.
Absolutely.
Just I'm not doing anything else.
It's just trying to get a chance now, isn't it? I mean, I'm sort of more back at work, and then at weekends there's nowhere really to go that's not going to be full of other people. Yeah, a lot of the inland dive sites seem to be opening up next week. It looks like so. We shall see, shouldn't we? Well, thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate it. It's been nice to chat to you, and hopefully we'll get in the water at some point and maybe see each other.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm dying to. Yeah, thanks very much. Honestly, right. I've really enjoyed it. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Nice one, buddy. Take it easy. See you soon.
So that brings us to an end of episode 9 with my new mate, Stu Lawson. Links to all the things we discussed are in the podcast notes. My guest on episode 10 is the scuba psychologist, Dr. Laura Walton. She talks about her work as a psychologist, a PADI diving instructor, and how she can combine the two to help divers improve on issues that they face to reach their goals. You've been listening to Are You a Scuba Diver? Fancy a Brew with me, Andy the Northern Diver. You can find more scuba related content on my YouTube channel, and the link is also in the podcast notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and leaving us a 5-star review. And if there's something or someone that you'd like us to discuss, then let us know via our Facebook page. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.